obviously you can always take more commissions, grow, have a super successful, huge YouTube channel, super successful social media, super successful, thousands of employees painting for you. But at the end of the day, I always tell myself, what do you want to do? And for myself, I always answer it, I want to paint miniatures.
I always thought I need to do more because otherwise I cannot afford food anymore. Hello guys and welcome to my channel. My name is Marcus and today I have something very special. But before I start that, I have a little disclaimer. This next upcoming video was meant to be a one-shot video about a professional painter, another professional painter, and golden demons. We got sucked in our passion, and so this is now a two-parted interview with a very special guy, and I think a lot of people know him. Welcome, Lucas, aka Chewy.
Thank you.
We met to give you a little interview situation on my YouTube channel, and of course also for all our social media channels. Today we will talk about Golden Demon and all special things around Golden Demon, Road to Golden Demon, but also our opinion about the contest itself. But I heard you also want to talk about a second topic. I give you the stage.
Since you asked me if we wanted to record this, I said yes, especially because I think we got to know each other on the last Golden Demon. And afterwards, I realized that you are doing this since forever as a full-time artist. So I'm
not that.
What did you say? 12 years? Something like that, right? 12, 13.
January 12th.
Yeah, that's forever in this business, especially from my perspective, since I just started doing this full-time. And yeah, when you invited me, I said yes, especially because I'm curious to hear all the stuff that you've done the last years. I think mainly commissions, if I'm not mistaken, right? And mainly in Wien. I just wanted to know, please tell me something about that.
I think the whole business was very wild because it started as a fun thing to do. Mm-hmm. I played not professional football. It was like semi-professional football. It was like first league. Mm-hmm. So I was into sports and university and everything was super fun. But I realized that I need something else like I did as a kid. I started with 8. And so I thought, okay, let's go into painting again. I bought an airbrush set. I bought the Dark Vengeance starter box from 40K. And I just want to paint something to calm down at the evenings, when everything is super stressful on the university and the sports. I just want to go back and paint. And back then there was a page that was called Cool Me or Not. Some might know it.
I remember.
Most people know it from board games now. But this was not the case back then. Back then in 2011-ish.
Yeah.
It was just a platform for putting your miniature photos on. So, and then they can get rated.
Yeah, I remember the page, especially one artist called Shadow and Flame. It was mainly doing Lord of the Rings stuff. And back then that was like the Holy Grail.
For me it was
still really good.
Yeah, probably. But back then there was a rating page for your models. I mean, it's called Cool Mini or Not. You put your minis on the website, and people rate it if it's cool or not. That was actually the case. That was actually the main reason why there is that website. Obviously now they turn into a board game company, which is also fun. But yeah, this is how it started. And then then I did that from my student dorm. So I had a table which was maximum 1 feet, say 2 feet, 60 centimeters wide, including all my setup for my university. All of a sudden, people started to talk to me and oh yeah, can you paint that for me? Because I saw that on Cool Me or Not. And that took off absolutely crazy back then because there was no commission painting service in Austria at that time, only a very shitty one. He hired me then. He never paid me for half a year. I then quit, opened my own commission painting service. After 1 or 2 years, I was pretty successful, took my first own apartment with a little studio on the side. After 1 year, I went to a bigger apartment with a full room of studio.
One question, were you doing this full-time back then?
Well, I had a scholarship on a university, but that was just 600 euros a month. And Vienna is not that cheap. So the scholarship basically covered the costs of my apartment. But back then I was also playing football. So I ate a lot, as you might see the rest of that still. I ate at least the scholarship, I ate that in food. So I needed to paint a lot. And that was always my main benefit. I'm coming from I was a professional chef back then. And I worked for like 16 hours a day.
Oh, you know the shifts. Yeah.
I know working a lot, and that was my main thing, and I always took it serious. And that's I think the big difference, what made me successful in the first place, that I worked my ass off for so many years. I had no holidays. I had no money all the time because I always invest every cent into that. And that's still the case. I'm a humble person in private life. Obviously now I have more luxury stuff like an iPhone, or I can buy myself a nice jacket or so. But still, when you compare like the income of the company to what I take to myself, this is a very small thing. This is like not important.
That's super interesting to hear, especially because I can relate myself a lot. My theory on this is that a lot of people who paint minis, especially doing it full time, can be humble because the hobby is the job. So you don't need a lot of luxury, because our luxury is being able to spend the day painting minis, which is what we probably love, right?
But that will change, and that's the thing. 2017, that was my first trip to the US, to Crystal Brush, and I won a silver brush, and that was my first big commission. Before that, I won some small competitions, but the problem what you face, and you will face that you lose the passion for your own hobby when you are just painting for other people. If that is your profession,
that's an interesting take. People have warned me about this, and it's not like I just started doing this full time and now I'm just starting with commissions. I'm doing commissions since a long time. It was always like a side business. So I know how it feels to paint for others and then give the miniatures away. But something I've noticed, I've never experienced a drop in motivation for myself. Never. Not a single day. I think about painting minis and Warhammer and the lore and the hobby, the sculpting constantly. I'm a 100% nerd when it comes to this. It's absolutely crazy. Ever since I can think, I think I started when I was 12 or 13, and I never stopped thinking about it. And it's always like,
maybe for the guests, let them know how old you are.
Oh yeah, now I'm 32, turning 33 this year.
Yeah, so we are basically almost same age. I'm turning 35. So just that people know the
relation.
time we're talking about.
You are right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm celebrating my 30th birthday for the third time this year. So yeah, the passion has never dropped for me. It has always been exactly the same. And now that I'm basically doing only stuff for others, the Golden Demon projects are things for myself. I don't know. I always have this passion for it, and I'm curious to see if it does actually hold up or if it's going to drop in the future. But so far, I have to disagree on that one, that at some point it's going to drop. For me.
No, the thing is that everything is like fine till you are facing an intensity. That's the thing. If you want to scale that business, you have to put more intensity in that. It will not, when you always paint, always work as much as you need, you will never have a drop, because that's what you want. That's what you do. I still come, every time I go to work, I like to go to work. There is, sometimes I don't like it because it's like too much. But the problem is when it gets to a level where you have visions, and when you have a vision, because for me it's like I never have a drop of visions, and that's the difference. I always have like let's call it a dream. I think that's a too big word. I always have a dream of like a company that is bigger and bigger. Back then when I started, for me it was unthinkable that I would have a physical store.
Yeah.
And then my first physical store, then I moved to like a basement of 40 square meter, like a basement studio. And there was like, can you imagine? That's crazy. But after 3 years or 2 years, we moved in a 70 square meter real shop, with a shop front in a city like Vienna, and it's not a cheap city. After 3 years, and that was like, we made photos and videos, and it was like, can you imagine we have a store? That is so crazy. Nobody would ever think about that in Austria, because Austria is a small city. It's not Germany, for example. You have more than 10 times as much people as we have.
You mean Vienna, right? In Vienna, was this already in Vienna?
Yeah, everything is. I never left Vienna.
All right,
but like Austria in general have like 8 million people, and I mean, when you're in Germany, you have a way bigger audience to work with.
Yeah.
But and after 3 years, we decided, or I had to finally decide that we quit, that we closed the studio because it is too small. And now I'm sitting in a 140 square meter studio with 12 gaming tables, a 3D printing farm, a studio here, and YouTube setup and everything. And I can tell you it could be a little bit bigger.
Obviously, I mean, it's so relatable. I think everyone knows the situation. Like when you have something nice and you just upgraded, it's the Holy Grail. It's so nice. It's the best thing ever. It's so much better compared to what you had before. I think that's life in general. You get used to stuff so fast, and then you want the next big thing. But for me, I always, like, when I think back to what I did before, I used to be not long ago, I was working for a big company and was in corporate, and I only have to think back for 1 minute how that was, and then I get humbled down again to be very grateful and thankful to be doing this now. So I think I'm very good in my brain to kind of regulate myself in terms of how much do you want to grow in order to be happy. But for me, it always comes down to what do you need to be happy. And I'm very good at humbling myself or my surrounding to what's important to me. And obviously, you can always take more commissions, grow, have a super successful, huge YouTube channel, super successful social media, super successful, thousands of employees painting for you. But at the end of the day, I always tell myself, what do you want to do? And for myself, I always answer it, I want to paint miniatures. And as long as I can do this by either selling them to others or teaching others how to paint them, I'm fine with that. And that's something that's calming myself a lot, and is also giving me some chill when I come to, I have to do more, or I'm doing too less. So these kind of thoughts kind of help me. You might remember in the beginning, you have the fear of failure, and you always.
But that haven't stopped yet.
Yeah, it never stops. It probably never stops.
I don't think it will stop.
So I like thinking about this, like, what do you want to do to be happy? And usually I can tell myself or calm myself, actually everything is fine. You're doing exactly what you want to do, and plus minus it kind of is working out. So don't stress yourself. It's easier said than done. I also have my days where I'm going crazy and there's a lot going on. But speaking of dreams, I just wanted to say, when you mentioned thinking of dreams or what's the next big thing, when I saw you move into that apartment, that's also some kind of a dream for myself. Having a studio that size, it's looking absolutely fantastic. It's looking very beautiful. I think it's quite central, somewhere in the city center, if I'm not mistaken, or it's at least not.
It's actually not in the city center. It's out. It's a little. It has a nice connection, which means you are in the city center with the.
So it's accessible for people, right? It's not like nowhere.
It's crazy accessible, but it's a little bit outside, so we have a little bit more of a chill area, because I'm also living here and I don't want to have a long way to my studio.
Yeah, makes sense.
As you said, it's like you have like a chill, like more like you have something to think about, that you're happy where you are. I think the main problem was, and I think I realized that now, that I was crazy young. I was 22 when I started professional painting, and I was not able to process that. I had years where I had, for example, I had months where I could not afford food as a painter, even when I was like actually working, because I was too young to handle that situation. I made wrong decisions. I trusted wrong people. I was in a lot of situations where I was like, okay, I remember one situation where I was in the cinema and it took my credit card, the bank, the ATM took my credit card, and then I put my how's it called, the debit card.
One?
or the Giro. Back then there was no debit, but whatever, like the EC card in, and it also took that away. So I was completely out of money and out of options. I could not even afford the ticket home with the tram. And that is a situation I look back when I say, okay, that is actually humbling me, because I started from nothing. I had no starting budget or anything, and I faced some situations that was very, very hard. And then that situations, to see back on that's really humbling me. But as you said, you worked in corporate, and you want to do something that makes you happy. I never had that regulating moment, because I think I was not ready to face that amount of obligations, and also like the stress and everything. So for me, I never had that moment where I said, but I want to be happy. I want to do what I like. I always thought I need to do more, because otherwise I cannot afford food anymore. That was actually why I'm here in not many years, to be honest.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that you say. I think in general that it's easy to get very political now. I remember someone saying that not fentanyl is the most scariest drug, but the next pay bill. Like you're always dependent on the next payment and that kind of stuff, and then it's easy to drift into capitalism and those kind of topics. But let's not do that for now. I think it's an age thing. In your 20s, you have a different relationship to money and a different relationship to work. It's easy to work your ass off and work a lot and work late and be passionate and not tired and not eat a lot. And that's like, for me, that's the definition of these. Some people do that in the clubs, some others do that on the job, some do both. Some do that in sports. In your 20s, you're a tank. You can do a lot and don't need a lot. And the older you get,
but also to add a little side information, you also think in your 20s that you still figure it out. Like it's not like you know that in your 20s.
Smartest person.
Yeah, it's not like you actually know that in your 20s that you're doing that because you know that you have to do that. But it's kind of a thrive that you have, and you have way more energy. But when you're turning like mid-30 and everything hurts, it's like when you get up and you're shit tired. You're not normal tired. You're like, I need to go to the coffee machine, 2 coffees, in my case, 2 coffees at home, and then I can go. Because, for example, yesterday, I started like before 6 in the morning, prepared the tournament that we have, because now we're also doing events, like very big events sometimes. I started before 6, and I came and I went to bed at like 11:30 because I had a discussion with a customer in the middle of the night. And then I got up in the morning again. So in your 20s, you can handle that. In your 30s, you should be very careful about that.
I'm sure some people can handle it, but I'm also I'm a sleep fan. Like I used to have migraines a lot, and at some point my doctor said, try sleeping 9 hours instead of 8. And I was back then already struggling getting 8 hours of sleep. Now I kind of found my peace. I try to sleep 9 hours, and I hate it and I love it at the same time. I hate it because it's stealing time, but at the same time I'm just feeling better. Like sleep is for me, sleep is so important, and it's like my kind of luxury. It's like my hobby. I try to get as much sleep as possible because I can see I'm not working well if I don't get a lot of sleep. It's one of those things.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's like for me, my luxury is like having the money to go for good food. That is a big point for me, and being in bed at 10. That's the 2 things that I really appreciate.
Nice. Yeah,
everything else,
that's
everything else is not so important anymore.
Nice. All right.
And of course, a nice Tau army.
And a nice Tau army. Is that still allowed to say out loud on the internet? I thought
they should all go and do themselves, because Tau is the best army.
Oh, damn. So we're moving away from Tau haters to Tau worshipping. As someone who also has...
What is that Tau hating? I don't get it. I'm not that deep into some kind of like cults or lore or something, so I never understood it. Why people have something against my army? I just like them.
I think it's just like a meme. It's like a joke in itself. It's something you repeat so many times. I feel ashamed. And yeah. I like them too, I can assure you. Markus, to close up the topic of commission painting or full-time painting, what I'm also really curious about, how much do you paint each day? How much commissions do you do? Do you do it with a team? What's the whole commission painting thing? What are your customers? Are they like only people from Austria? That's stuff like that I'm interested in.
Yeah. So there was that's also the thing that changed a lot and changed sometimes every few months. It started with just commissions from Germany because the base in Austria was not there, and nobody knew about customs painting. Then it changed to only Austria. And then I went on. Then basically, Trovarian told me that he's like, yeah, but the things you're doing, that sounds like a Fiverr thing. And then I went to Fiverr.
Yeah, the platform.
Commission.
Everyone knows it since Squidma.
Yeah, and then I was in a Squidma video with my commission. He tricked me with that, to be fair. So I was not presented very well because the main topic was to replace an army for a guy that has no money. And so I thought what I do is a unit of 10 to have like a volume to that army. What all the other commission painters did, painting random high-end characters.
Yeah, so the comparison is unfair. Yeah.
Because my stuff was basic painting. I also told that. He also said that. But of course, it's the internet. Everybody see, oh, this picture looks better than that picture.
Internet things, yeah.
But all of a sudden, I was the most successful miniature painter on Fiverr for many years.
Nice.
I think I can say it. I think I did like, I don't know, 30K or something in that year. Which is actually not a lot when you compare it with now, but back then that was a lot just with Fiverr. And then I turn off Fiverr because they are going nuts with the fees. I don't like that. You basically pay like a third at least for like, and then taxes and everything. So you pay like 60% goes away from Fiverr when you do it legally. Obviously. And we cannot afford doing a lot of stuff illegal because we are now very easy to see. And so then I went away from Fiverr, and then it starts with a lot of local customers. And I can tell you, once you have a store, you will attract different customers. You will attract customers.
New people.
Not just new people. I can tell you, the people who are more old school, like people who appreciate that you have a store, that they can come to you in person, shake your hand, talk with you, they are giving you better and more high-end commissions because they appreciate the service you give them in person, and that switched. So at the moment, I am completely booked out with Austrian customers, plus minus a little bit of international.
That's very interesting to hear, especially because it feels like a little bit like the old school world, like the nice world back in the days when the world was fine. And you would walk into a shop and you would get like a nice talk. You would get some recommendations from the shop owner. It feels like this world, like a handcrafted surrounding.
I can tell you it is exactly that. I can tell you this, and that was my take 3 or 4 years ago, that we as people, I will not say everybody, but we as people go a little bit more back into physical things, handcrafted things, because the thing is that it seems like that you can have everything cheap on the internet.
Yes.
But when you have something physical,
on the internet, you're always competing with
the price.
Like your neighbor is not your physical neighbor, but someone on the other side of the world, and you're competing with that. You're competing with the best of the best.
Can't. Yeah. You are living in an expensive city. I live in an expensive city. We cannot compete with a person that sits in Slovakia, for example, which I also really like. But they have like third of the rent that I have. They have like maybe just 60-70% of the costs per month that I have. Obviously, they can then paint cheaper, or like Poland or other countries. I cannot compete with that. What I can compete with is my service.
Yeah, definitely. I think the personal communication is a huge thing. That's also something I've noticed when I started giving workshops. Like the personal contact is something so important and so different to online teaching. So it's something I personally also enjoy. It's probably also an age thing. I'm pretty sure that the next generation is thinking differently about it.
I don't see that. I have the next generation already in my workshops. I see that they are going a little bit back again.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
Maybe not all of them, but
yeah, it's always the bubble. It's probably wrong of me to also say that about all of them. It's always a specific group. But yeah, going back to the comparison with other painters, it is definitely, I think no one says that miniature painting is a walk in the park. Everyone knows you're doing something that's a hobby for most people as a job. It's super nice because you can paint minis all day long, and it's a nice activity. And the trade-off is that there is a lot of competition, and the hour loan is not great, and it will never be. No one's going to get rich of miniature painting, and the trade-off is you just work a lot. You just do it more than others. Some investment banker works 5 hours and gets what we do in a week, probably. So that's a little bit the trade-off how I see it. You do something nice, and that's why you can do it longer. And for me, for my mental and personal health, that's the better deal.
yes, I also think that you will also have a change in your mindset when you're doing it a little bit longer. As long as you treat your work for example, I need to educate my customers the first few years. Because I heard a lot like, but that's your hobby. You like to do it. So why should I pay you the same that I pay for a plumber? Why should I pay you the same like a teacher? Why should I pay you the same like other professions, like known professions? But I told them I'm not worth less as a person. My work is also worth something, and I want to live from something. And the next step is you want to have a good commission service in the next few years for your next armies. So pay me something that that I survive. Because as you said, even if I am very happy with my hourly rate, as you said, we will not get rich of that. This is, in my opinion, with just miniature painting, nearly impossible. You can live of it. You can live good of it. What I did, of course, I have a 3D printing company on the side. We do big events, and I have a shop where you can buy physical things. That also helps a lot because it's all scalable things. But you also don't degrade yourself as miniature painting. And that's a big thing I can tell everybody. Don't degrade yourself as a miniature painter just because you like to do it. I always love to paint as a chef. And I always love to cook. But I also like to get paid for what I can. And as miniature painter and hobby things, I heard that a lot. And that's kind of a thing that I heard really a lot. And I think a lot of people don't really understand it. Just because you like your work doesn't mean that that you're not worth the same like an investment banker. That they get maybe paid too much. That's absolutely true. But still, you should have a good living of what you're doing. Doesn't matter if you like it. Only because you made a better life choice that maybe someone that hates their job doesn't matter. That give them the right to say you should not earn as much as they do maybe.
I absolutely agree. You also mentioned, I think the most important thing that you mentioned is you have to educate, because I think we've all done commissions and charged way too less. We've all done that. And I think everyone who is starting is also going to do that. And even people who are doing it since forever, it happens to you all the time. Maybe there's a mini that you haven't painted before and you just cannot roughly estimate how much
the
time
price,
it's going to spend. Yeah, I just did it recently again, like the Fulgrim. It's such a detailed model. It's insane. It's a new model.
You mean the new Fulgrim?
Never painted it before. You also just painted it, right?
Yeah, but I was fast.
It's but you did like speed paint stuff, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, like a medium gaming quality, we call it.
Yes, exactly. And I'm always having a hard, like, I know how to paint very fast, but at the same time, if like the model, it's very easy for me to fall in love with the details. And I know it's like the constant trade-off of let's stop here, and I know how to push it further to make it look better. So it's always the constant trade-off. And with the Fulgrim, I fell in love with it. And on most parts, I knew I should stop now, but I couldn't stop it. And it's
okay. Let's drop a number. How many hours?
How many hours on the Fulgrim?
Yeah.
I think it was 35.
35.
Yeah. Like
Do you want to know?
with
Oh, with
building and
building. Okay.
converting.
Oh yeah, I have not built and not converted it. That's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, building,
Uh,
converting, and base. That was I think 9 hours alone. Just because I was thinking about different things, trying
yeah,
different things. I was enjoying that one. Yeah.
yeah. It took me 2 hours for the painting.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've seen
That's the
don't get me wrong. I've seen the model. It's the paint job is like a fast paint job. That's absolutely
yeah,
fine. But 2 hours is astonishing. Yeah.
yeah. And
With
I
airbrush.
didn't use the airbrush. That's the
Oh, you didn't use
um
the airbrush. Ooh, damn.
no, that was
I
all
saw
brush.
you work on it. Is it going to come to YouTube as a video, or what was it? I haven't seen it on your
Yeah.
socials yet.
I already finished the cutting process of the painting. I did it with the new quick paints, and then I made that quick paint. I had an undershading, quick paint, and then I did some highlights over it. But it looks actually pretty cool. And I like to say especially that wording because I think on the gaming table it should look cool.
It needs to pop. You need to pump up the contrasts. You need to,
Yeah.
yes,
Work with
definitely.
colors, with it should be vibrant. It should be because it but let's not go too deep into that philosophy of painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a quick job, but that's also something you have to learn. You need to let go on some projects. That is really important, and that's also very important for all painters out there that are getting stuck in like, oh yeah, I paint that model since 100 hours. Not competition-wise, we're coming to that topic soon. I paint that since 100 hours. I'm not finishing. I was like, yeah, just don't paint like the unnecessary parts.
Yeah,
When you
I
want to
think it's a
finish
very
something.
different approach. Some people who are spending 100 hours on a model painted for themselves, they're on a project where they're learning, they're trying different things, they're experimenting. And if I can also paint a fulgrim in 1 hour or 2 hours, definitely. If it's like let's say a job that needs to be done or it needs to be ready until tomorrow. I've done that in the past too, like getting a model ready. But now my approach is a little bit everything I paint, I also want to post and promote myself. So I
Yeah.
stopped taking big army commissions and I stopped taking commissions that are supposed to be done in no time. It's like a little bit a self-fulfilling prophecy. If I only paint like this and only post like this, I will only get asked to paint stuff like that. So
Yeah,
now
of
my
course.
approach is differently. I want to what I mentioned earlier between the constant struggle between time and knowing that you could do better. I'm trying to attract other customers by paint. I know how to paint better, but most of the time I'm flying under the radar. And the only time I can show how I actually paint is when I do my private stuff for Golden Demon. And that's something I'm struggling with a lot. I'm
Yeah, but
constantly showing stuff where I know how to paint it better.
But that's the thing is like you need to. The problem is, and that was the reason why I quit competition painting 2017 and just painted armies because, as you said, it's like what you paint, you attract, and fact is, armies bring the money, and armies will grow your company because that is, I can tell you, that can be big money in a fast way. And
Yes.
when you paint like because you asked like how much do we paint? We can paint like 1 to 2 armies a week. And that is really something that your company can benefit from because that's a lot of models and a lot of money, obviously. But on the other hand, as you said, that's also something that's also not something that you can promote yourself with. That's why, for example, I'm really struggling on Instagram. We are painting a lot of models, and in my opinion, they're all looking very good. We win a lot of best painted competitions in tournaments with our armies if they get graded. But the thing is, that's not giving you likes and clicks and reach on social media because they like to see stuff that they normally not see because they want to see nice stuff.
Yeah, they want to see stuff that's out of the box. And if you're painting an army in a week, then the time per model is definitely like your time per model. You're competing on social media with stuff where people are posting pictures of a shoulder pad where they've spent 10 hours on. That's what you're competing with. And obviously that's a hard comparison.
But I mean, on the other hand, then you see, as we talked before, then you see a guy dry brushing a model and he gets like 4,000 likes on it.
Yeah, that's
So internet is
the
fucked.
social
You heard it here first.
the social media thing is dangerous. It's very,
Yeah.
very dangerous. I could see myself getting dragged into it.
Yeah.
And I think I have a healthier relationship to it now because I just post, and when it works, it's great, and when it doesn't work, it doesn't affect me. It's just like, it's one of those things. It's like I when I did like this post the other day of where I started with this Instagram channel, that's how I try to see it. It was like my journal. I started the Instagram page as a,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to take a picture today, I'm going to post it to also see my own progress. It's like a journal. It's like this is my journey of painting. This is today. Tomorrow I will post this because that's what I've been working on, to also keep going, to keep working, to keep painting. And I think that's a very healthy approach to see social media more as a, look, this is what I'm doing right now. And I truly believe that if something gets a lot of likes and a lot of clicks, that's not the certificate of it's the better work. It's very easy to
Yeah.
think that, and our brains work that way, but it's
For me,
that's
it's
something
very hard
everyone
because I
has to
don't
find out
understand
for
it.
themselves.
For me, it's very hard because I like to understand something. Also, as a professional, you need to adapt if you do something wrong, you know?
Yep.
And I don't like to be on social media, to be honest. So I
Yeah.
always just did what I thought is right, but I was never consistent with it. I never had like a vibe or something on the page where everything is looking the
Mm.
same. So I really struggle. But that's also the reason why I don't have a lot of followers. But I think at the end, you should not take it too serious. I think that's a very good
But
starting point of.
I think you already analyzed it correctly. You said you are not painting competitions and you are not painting in order to make the craziest looking model, but you are painting to do commissions and to get multiple armies done in a short time. And you also mentioned that you like to work with customers who are coming to your shop. You don't need social media. Apparently it is working for you also without it. So maybe that as a reflection helps you.
Yeah. But to be honest, but the thing is, and that's a very personal thing. First of all, it seems like that people are getting validation out of likes and followers. And that's the thing that I
Obviously,
also really struggle with.
that's
Because
why
then I
what
go,
I
for
mentioned with,
example, yeah.
it's how our brains work. That's why it's so dangerous.
Yes, but for
Bigger
example, when you
numbers.
go for, I teach in the US once a year on the Adapticon, and you go there, and then you have all that Insta famous people, and they have like a clique, and they're talking, and they're always talking like about projects and how fantastic everything is and how famous, and interview here, interview there, and get invited to all that things, and then I stand there and it's like. And then I talk with them, and then it turns out they are painting like on a kitchen table at their mom's place or so. And what I really struggle with is not getting seen or taken serious just because I am not Instagram famous or YouTube famous, even when I have a company that is actually probably making 10 times the money of they are doing. As a professional, for me, it seems like they're not taking people serious that are not having like so many followers. And I think that's a personal thing, and that's stupid to say, but I want to get that validation because I think we deserve it.
Yeah, there are several things that I kind of little bit disagree with. I think success and money success are two different things. Having a successful company and being a successful painter or artist are, I think, two very different things.
To a degree.
That's saying first off. And I don't think that what you call Instagram famous or famous and giving interviews and that kind of stuff is that they're not famous because they are successful on Instagram. They are successful on Instagram because they are very good artists.
Yeah, but that's not really what I mean. But yes, sure. That's two different things.
It's very much, if you want to be more seen, you probably have to be more, or the prestige is from competitions and
Yeah.
painting minis to an absolute maximum. And I'm realizing this is probably the perfect transition over to Golden Demon, because I'm realizing we're all constantly learning. And I always thought it's easy to paint better if you spend more time on a mini. And yes, that's usually the case. But there is the last 10%, I would say, is very, very artistic and very, very individual and very there. It's very much important, or the true skill comes to show. And that's why certain artists who are constantly winning shows, I don't think that's that's happening by chance. I think that's really because they kind of figured out those last 10%, and I'm not there and others aren't there either. But yeah, those last 10% is what makes them special. And that's why they constantly keep winning competitions. And that's why they are up there. And that's probably why they are successful and famous. And I wouldn't compare to that. That's maybe a goal that you have to work to. But the difference is you're working on army commissions, and they are on some people just paint 1 mini per year. Like your output is probably like 10 armies or 20 armies a year, and they are painting on 1 mini, and they are working on those last 10% and kind of readjusting that. So it's a very you are learning speed and output and quantity, and they are kind of focusing on that last tip of the iceberg. And I think that also takes a lot of dedication, and that I think that all of them or most of them truly deserve it, and I'm not jealous of it, or I just
I'm not saying that they're not deserve it. What I think is, like, I mean, maybe it was also said wrong, but what I would like to have is like to get seen as an artist and as a businessman. And that's what sometimes you not get out of a community when you're not like one of the top 10% of the painters. And I think everybody in that community is same, because that's the thing again, like how to judge art. And I think all the artists and all the miniature painter, I don't take anybody like less serious. And I think the top 10%, after I'm now on competitions every year since 10 years, I see that cliquiness I really don't like, and therefore this is also giving me the drive to get better as a miniature painter, because I'm not just painting armies. I won a lot of competitions. I won good medals at the SMC, for example, and that's a big contest. But I like to say that every artist should get taken like as a serious artist, even if we are also painting commission. It's not like I'm just painting commission.
Definitely. But then again, probably if everyone's thinking that way and everyone wants to get seen, it's very hard. And that's again how,
true.
Like, there's so many good painters. I sometimes on Instagram, I just get feed thrown in, and it's like this crazy painted mini, and the dude has like 200 followers. And I'm like,
yeah, it's crazy.
What the fuck is wrong here? And he's posting constantly, there are so many accounts of crazy good people. Yeah, it's difficult. I can tell you to kind of round this up. We met last time on Golden Demon for the very first time. And before that, I probably also didn't know you quite well. And meeting someone in person is always something different. And I realized, the moment I realized you're a good businessman, because you mentioned I want to be seen as an artist and as a businessman. The moment I realized you're a good businessman, you know when that was?
No.
When you were sitting at AK. They were like, we're both working with AK, and we were both doing like a showcase for them at their stand. And I think Elena was her name, right? She took out her phone to record some stories, and you were like, there's the scene from Leonardo DiCaprio where he's looking on the floor, and then they go like 3, 2, 1, camera off, and then he just performs. And that was you in the moment. She was like, okay, camera's running, and you were like immediately, okay, this is Marcos from. You were like so professional. I was really impressed by that. And back in the day, I was like, who is that guy? And Martin, who was with me on the fair, he said like, oh yeah, it's Marcus from Marcus Miniatures World. And then he showed me your account and stuff like that. And I kind of got to know you. And I realized you were very experienced in doing this for a long, long, long time. The second you started talking, because it sounded like you knew what you were talking about and you were used to talking in front of people. So that was maybe something like a nice something nice for you as a wrap up of this topic.
Yeah.
Blush,
Okay.
blush, blush.
I need a shower now. No. Okay.
I'm being
That's
honest.
also good
I'm
to
being
know.
honest.
But yeah, it is a very complex world out there in our super small niche, and I think that's also something that always get me back into that miniature painting world, that you can do so many different things, and it's like every time you think you figured something out, there is something new coming up. Doesn't matter if it's like
Yeah.
painting or it's like converting, or now, for example, I really like to film and do that YouTube video stuff, even if I'm not good yet. But I really felt the last time because the first video I did for the AK Quick Paint, it was, it was, I'm not gonna lie, it's an absolute dog shit video. It's not good, but I really like to do it. But I faced so many struggles with the technique
Yeah.
stuff on the computer and everything. I was so out of everything that I've lost everything. Like I lost the topics and everything. And now after the second video, it was already cool. And I think it's easy, chill, and cool to do and everything. And I think that's also nice on miniature painting, and also good advice to other people when you see that, for example, when you struggle with one part, maybe figure out something else. Maybe there is something, start converting or something like that, or maybe find a new game. But there is so many options for everybody out there.
Yeah, definitely. It's the variety is huge. But speaking of YouTube, I enjoy doing videos, but at the same time, I realize I don't enjoy recording myself painting. I'm always struggling with the right
You're
camera.
never as good as you are without a camera.
Exactly. I could never record like my Golden Demon painting stuff on a camera. I always feel like I'm painting like this.
Yes, it's like I filmed at full grim, and sometimes I look like I never hold a brush in my life. It's like I have, normally I'm the thing is, even when you're just painting armies, it is like you're very good with the brush. Hand brush eye coordination is very good because you do it so much. And it's like, and in that video, it looks like I'm completely like, I never did that before. And it's like, what the fuck? I just need to do one small line. It's like an edge highlight. Normally you do that on 100 Space Marines in a day. And it's like, all of them are pretty crisp. And now it's like, you do like this. It's like, okay. So yeah, I don't like that, but I will also work on that. I will probably get better on that. And yeah, of course, also a big thing. And that's also something that people should know. Things that you shoot with a camera equipment with a very good light looks a little bit different in real life.
Yes, definitely. That's why I think that's for me. Last year, Golden Demon was my very first competition, and I was blown away how different certain models look in the cabinets or in real life. Obviously, in the cabinets, the light is not perfect, but reality and pictures are two different things. I see it all the time. Like this is where I take my pictures for my Patreon tutorials. And if I want to show something with a fire effect, I use a dark background just because it looks so much better. And
that's the thing. That exactly what you said is the reason why I tell people go to a painting competition. I don't want to say that stuff in real life is not looking worse. I will not say that. I say some look more impressive to me even, because then it's like, fuck, that is so detailed. Because sometimes, a strong light and the camera is giving you a little bit of a softness sometimes more of a sharpness. It do something to your miniature. And also sometimes, I mean, the main things, I think we can talk about it. The main things is like, that the highlights on the miniature are not that high and low. The contrast is different in real life than on a picture. That's what good cameras do. They catch a perfect lighting situation if you do it right.
It depends a lot on the setup and how you take your pictures. But initially, usually you have a light coming from the top, which is empathizing the overall situation of the mini, which is we also paint often light to dark, and then the light is kind of exaggerating that. Yes, definitely.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And I have a very good advice for a lot of people who want to paint competition and want to go there. I also had that for a friend of mine. He also won with his first competition, recommended, I think. No, the finalist thing. I don't know how that's called now.
Finalist
Because
now is commended, and commended is finalist.
we go into
They
that
changed it for
maybe.
this year.
I just want to finish that because that's so important. And he went there and he was, during the painting process, he was like, yeah, but I need to make that even brighter and that even darker and that even more here and there. And then you go there and you see that everything is kind of a little bit more chill on the contrast that you have it on the pictures. And especially with non-metallic metals, this is looking completely different. Don't take the pictures as a thing. I like to take pictures as a reference where to put something, but I will not take the pictures for the contrast, because if you want to reach that contrast, there is a reason why they don't look in real life like this, because sometimes it's very important to reach that, because you have a normal atmosphere to see the model. You don't have a photo lighting in real life. So go to competitions, and I think the best thing we could do is we split that episode in half and do a two-part out of it.
Probably. Maybe, maybe. I've enjoyed the talk a lot, but I'm also seeing it's already 1 hour later, and we said 1 hour in total.
We even said that maybe we should not go to an hour. But I think I also think that these topics are very interesting for a lot of people, because not only for professional people, but also for people who think who maybe want to have a commission from you or from other painters, but also to see a little bit of the background work that we have, because that's still a passion. It's not like we are just taking money from people. We have like to do that. We chose to do that. You chose to go from like a corporate job to miniature painter. I was a professional chef, and then I studied biotech. So I have also options, but we are choosing that to do that. So I think we should split that in half, let that to the people, let them decide if that is interesting or not, and then we go into Golden Demon topics. How does that feel to you?
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. Sounds good. Good idea.
Then thank you for watching the first part of that interview. I think that was very interesting for me, at least. I hope also for you. And we are now going in a even more interesting topic for most people. And I think that's something you should really say.